Every night as your head sinks into the pillow and your eyes begin to close, you assume you're drifting off to sleep. You think your mind is shutting down for the night. But what if that's the greatest deception you've ever believed? What if everything you've learned about sleep was designed to conceal a deeper truth, a truth about your most potent spiritual gift? Because here's what they never told you. Sleep isn't unconsciousness, it's travel. Each night, your awareness slips free from the physical shell and journeys into other planes, other lifetimes, other realities. This isn't fantasy, it's ancient wisdom, buried, hidden, denied. Because if you remembered who you truly are when you sleep, you could no longer be controlled. Sleep is not rest, it's rehearsal. Not for death in the way you've been taught to dread, but for a passage, a nightly exodus from the body that mirrors the soul's release at the end of life. And here's what will blow your mind. You've already done it, again and again. You just don't remember, because forgetting is the first layer of the spell. From the hieroglyphs of Kemet to the scrolls of Tibet, from the ruins of Atlantis to the secret vaults of esoteric orders, this knowledge has always existed. The dream realm is not illusion, it is real. It is sacred, it is where your spirit returns each night. But you were trained to dismiss it, to think dreams are nothing more than neural scraps and static images. Why? Because if you knew the truth, if you realized your dream self is your true self, the control systems would dissolve in an instant. The fear would lose its grip. The manipulation would fall apart. Why do ancient teachings across cultures speak of the astral? Why do Gnostic texts and Hermetic scrolls explore dream work, soul flight, and out-of-body journeys? Because your body may sleep, but your spirit is wide awake. So ask yourself, why is this sacred knowledge absent from schools? Why is dream work turned into entertainment? Why is astral projection mocked by science flogged? Even while government agencies like the CIA have studied it for decades? There's a reason. Because when you remember where you go at night, you stop fearing death. You stop fearing the unknown. And once fear is gone, so is obedience. As you fall into slumber, your brain shifts to theta and delta frequencies. These aren't just sleep cycles. They're frequencies that unlock a gateway between the physical and the unseen. Like a radio tuning to a hidden station, you slip beyond your senses, beyond gravity, beyond time, beyond reason. You become something ancient, something vast. And if you've ever had a dream that felt too real, it was. You weren't imagining it, you were there. You touched a dimension that runs parallel to this one, a place where thought becomes form, where you meet souls, relive other lives, and glimpse futures yet to unfold. The astral plane is not a fantasy. It's the next layer of reality, and you visit it every single night, but the memory has been erased. There was once a forbidden manuscript, one that didn't just hint at this knowledge, but exposed it completely. So powerful, it was hidden, banned, and burned by every system that benefits from your ignorance. It didn't just speak of dreams, it mapped them. It revealed the anatomy of sleep, of death, and the afterlife. It taught how to remain conscious, how to wake up inside the dream, how to take command. Fragments of it survive in Egyptian funerary rites, Tibetan dream yoga, the Gnostic Gospels, and Hermetic teachings. And they all point to one truth. You are not your body. You never were. You are pure awareness, experiencing form temporarily. Every night, your soul tries to remind you through images, emotions, symbols, signs, but you were taught to disregard them. You were conditioned to say it was just a dream. But what if that just a dream was the most profound journey your soul takes every 24 hours? Your ancestors knew. They didn't treat dreams lightly. They honored them as messages, as initiations, as warnings. The Egyptians believed the dreamscape was entered through the Duat, a secret world accessed in sleep. The Tibetans believed that awareness in dreams meant power in death, because the path of sleep is the same path the soul walks when life ends. And these weren't just mystical ideas, they were practical teachings. They offered methods to stay conscious after the body slept, to separate from it intentionally, to navigate the dream world with purpose. What if you could do the same? What if you could remember? Here's the secret no one tells you. You already astral travel. You already leave your body. You just haven't been taught to notice. That jerk awake when you're falling? That's your consciousness misaligning during exit. That floating sensation just before waking? That's the doorway opening. You've been doing it all along. They just never taught you how. Because if you were trained from childhood to map your dreams, to decode the symbols, to become lucid, you'd be a master by now, a navigator, a conscious soul traveler. And that is threatening to them, because once you remember, you begin asking questions you're not supposed to ask. About who you've been, what contracts you carry, what timelines you belong to, and the whole matrix starts to unravel. The 9-to-5 grind starts to look like a cage. The media starts to sound like a chant. The rules start to feel made up. Once you've touched the infinite, you can't go back. That's why the ancients prepared for sleep like a ritual. They didn't just pass out from exhaustion. They entered sleep with sacred intent, with mantras, with herbs, with talismans under their pillows, because they knew. You, on the other hand, were trained to collapse, to numb your brain with blue light, to slip into unconsciousness. Because unconsciousness is safe, it's predictable. But awareness is revolution. Think back. How many dreams have you had that were more vivid than reality? Colors, sensations, people you knew but couldn't place, places you'd never seen but felt like home? That's not fantasy. That's memory. Your soul remembering what your mind forgot. Because as your body rests, your consciousness explores. It navigates timelines. It visits versions of you. It works through karma your waking self isn't ready for. You felt this. That uncanny sense when you meet someone and feel instantly bonded. That deja vu so intense, it leaves you breathless. That recurring dream that feels like a transmission trying to break through. It's not random. It's residue of where you've been. Because sleep isn't escape, it's access to who you truly are, a layered, infinite soul spanning dimensions. And the only question is, will you remember? The forbidden manuscript, call it the Astral Codex, taught that dreams aren't poetic metaphor. They're encrypted messages. A lion may be your power, a hallway, a portal, a familiar face, a version of you. Your dreams are keys, and the more you pay attention, the clearer the map becomes, the clearer you become. And when you reclaim your sleep, you reclaim your sovereignty. You start to live lucidly, not just in dreams, but in your waking life. You go to bed with purpose. I will remember, I will awaken. And you do. You find yourself soaring, time bending, energy shifting. And you know you've done this before because you have. When you return to your body, you bring back a spark, a knowing, and it changes you. You no longer move through life just surviving. You move like someone who remembers. This is why children dream so vividly, before we teach them to forget, before they stop talking to invisible friends and flying in the sky. But that door can reopen. Tibetan dream yoga was created for exactly this, to awaken through sleep, to prepare for death, to choose rebirth. Because if you can stay aware in sleep, you can steer your soul after death. This is what the Astral Codex reveals. Master sleep, and you master death. And fear dissolves forever. Yet modern science scoffs, even while its own black budget labs study it in secret. The Gateway Experience, the Monroe Institute, declassified documents prove it. So why suppress it? Because a society that remembers the power of sleep cannot be controlled. They can't scare you, can't fool you, can't sell you distraction. When you wake up daily with divine memory, but you can take it back. You can start tonight. Before sleep, say it. Tonight I will remember. Tonight I will awaken. Keep a notebook. Write every detail, even the nonsense, because it's not nonsense, it's encrypted. And over time it decodes. You'll see symbols repeating, souls returning, worlds calling you back. That's your astral map unfolding. And if you follow it, you won't just remember dreams, you'll remember yourself. Ever woken up more exhausted than when you slept? That's because your spirit's been working, clearing karma, breaking ancestral loops, wading through collective energy, and yet you're told it's all in your head. But deep down, you know better. You remember the dreams that haunt you, that feel more real than waking life. Because they are. They're journeys, meetings, messages. If you've had sleep paralysis, that frozen moment where you feel something watching, you've touched the veil. You were in between, and what you sensed wasn't imagined, it was real. Don't panic. Use it. Stabilize. Exit. Rise. Because on the other side of that veil is a truth no textbook will ever teach. Your body is sacred, yes, but temporary. Your mind is not who you are. You are the observer. And in sleep, that observer returns to source. Call it the astral plane, the dream field, the ether. It's the same truth. You go there every night, And the Astral Codex, whether literal or living within you, says this: sleep is the most direct, sacred spiritual experience available. You don't need a priest, a temple, a ritual. You just need trust. Trust that your dreams matter, that your memory isn't broken, only buried, and it can be revived. Breathwork, sacred sound, visualization. These are the tools, not trends, keys. Imagine tonight, instead of falling into darkness, you feel yourself lifting, buzzing, floating. You rise consciously and look back at your body asleep. And in that moment, you know you are not the name, not the role, not the pain. You are awareness, unbound, infinite, and the room dissolves. You move by thought, visit loved ones, speak in emotions, and everything forgotten. When you come back, you don't just wake up, you arrive. And with you comes memory, power, presence. You trust your gut, feel the currents in a room, sense truth without proof. Because now, you're not just dreaming, you're on a mission. You're reclaiming timelines, healing fractures, reuniting lost parts of your soul. You are the lucid traveler, the awakened dreamer, the soul who remembers. And that is exactly what the ancients tried to tell us before they were silenced. The Book of the Dead was never about fear, it was a map. The Emerald Tablets weren't just about gold, they were about transformation. The Gnostic texts weren't blasphemy, they were blueprints for waking up. This wisdom was never lost, it was hidden. Because if everyone remembered what happens when they sleep, the illusion would shatter overnight. You can't cage a soul that remembers freedom. You can't sell fear to someone who journeys to eternity each night. You can't peddle illusions to one who dances with stars and spirits in their sleep. So they work tirelessly to keep you in the dark. But the moment you remember, the illusion shatters, the veil lifts, and no one, not a system, not a screen, not a voice of authority can ever lower it again. And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe this moment isn't a coincidence. Maybe your soul brought you here as a spark, a sacred nudge, because you've been drifting, falling asleep to your own power, forgetting something vital, feeling the ache of absence without knowing what it is. This is what's been missing. You, the unfiltered you, the you who watches yourself sleep, the you who travels through unseen realms, the you who speaks with beings of shadow and starlight, without fear, the you who knows this isn't the only world. And now that you've remembered, there's no turning back. Now you see the fractures in the narrative. Now you question the script, because sleep was never unconsciousness. It's a doorway, a sacred one, and they never wanted you to walk through it aware. But once you stop treating nightfall like shutdown, everything begins to shift. You begin reclaiming the most sacred hours of your life. The hours where your body rests, but your soul rises. Those are the hours when the veil thins, when you return to your original form. Limitless, unfiltered, unchained. Your consciousness expands, reaching across dimensions in search of memory, connection, meaning. And the more you notice, the more you retrieve. Images, emotions, voices that don't belong to this linear world. Glimpses of timelines where you chose differently. Fragments of lives that still pulse through your chest like distant thunder. That's what dreams are. Not fantasy, not fiction, but data. Sacred downloads translated into metaphor. A house from childhood, a staircase you can't reach the top of, a face you miss but can't name. These aren't random, they're echoes, keys, reminders. The Forbidden Book calls this process dimensional remembering. It says you're always dreaming, even when awake. But in sleep, the noise fades, the filters fall, and your real awareness steps forward, like a quiet presence that's been waiting for you to notice. And when you do, it speaks. Not in words, but in knowing. A deep, undeniable certainty that shifts your bones. You wake up and feel it. Something changed, something clicked. That knowing, it's power. Power that disrupts the systems that thrive on your sleepwalking. Because here's the secret they hide. There's a war on your awareness. A quiet war. One fought not with bullets, but with blinking screens, chemical fog, and content that dulls your inner compass. They've made forgetting normal. They've glamorized spiritual amnesia. So you wake up numb, grabbing coffee, scrolling, plugging into distraction before you even remember yourself. That's not an accident, that's engineering. Because the moment you remember your dreams and why you dream, you start breaking the spell. You begin to wonder, what else have they hidden? And if you keep wondering, you begin to see the cracks, the distortions. The code, Yes, reality is code, and sleep is your access point. Each night as you shift into theta, your soul connects to the quantum field, the field of infinite possibility, the place beyond matter. Here, thought is structure, emotion is momentum, intention is law. This is where reality is written, not in to-do lists or vision boards, but in the subtle blueprint your soul etches each night. This is why people feel stuck. They labor in the physical, but abandon the spiritual. They forget. Dreams are the original reality. The ancients knew. That's why initiation began in the dream. Mystery schools trained seekers to dream consciously before they were ever permitted to speak sacred words. Because if you can't hold your power in the astral, you won't hold it in waking life. Power without awareness corrupts. But awareness without power, that's the trap. And most people live in it, sensing truth but forgetting how to move with it. You don't have to. You were born for this. The ability is still inside you. You've just been distracted away from it. And that's not your fault. It's how the system was built, to sever the bridge, to silence the inner voice, to make you doubt the truth you already know. But truth never leaves. It waits. And tonight, when you dream, it might just speak again. And if you've come this far, traveled this deep into the remembering, then ask yourself, are you ready to awaken on purpose? To rise each night with intention, to reclaim your sovereignty, to walk through the dream world as the master, not the pawn? Or will you keep pretending it's just sleep, just dreams, just coincidence? Because now you know better. Now you know every night is a mission, every dream is a message, and every moment you forget, they win. But every moment you remember, you return. So tonight, will you collapse like they trained you, or will you rise like you were born to? The veil is waiting, and it only lifts for those who dare to look.